I'd like to call the Board of Aldermen meeting for April 4th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Alderman Beaman.
Here.
Alderman Counts.
Here.
Administrator Thorpe.
Here.
Mayor Kelly.
Here.
Attorney Law.
Here.
Alderman Foster.
Here.
Alderman Price.
Here. Everybody join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Of course, I have a lot of people out here tonight, but I'm going to ask to make sure everybody's phones are on silence, and if we want to speak, we need to address the podium, please. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have the council report, March 18th, 2022 through March 30th, 2022. The Board of Aldermen meeting minutes for March 21st, 2022. The Board of Aldermen executive session minutes for March 21st, 2022. I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as printed. Second. Roll call, please. Aye. 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 No ordinances and resolutions tonight. That's a surprise. And we're right on to unfinished business. The Franklin County MML meeting and dinner hosted by the City of Sullivan on April 20th at 6 o'clock. We need to have everyone's confirmation of attendance by April 6th, if possible. Please let the office staff know. We have election tomorrow, so the gym will be closed until the morning of April 6th. And we have a job vacancy updates. Want to show start back? Okay.
We have 3 current job vacancies. The parks part-time, building assistant part-time, and the office assistant part-time. The building assistant part-time is a part-time leading the full-time, and the office assistant is a part-time temporary. Same with the parks part-time seasonal. We have few applications at this point. Parks, we have had 6, I call them applicants, 4 of them from Indeed.com, and when I reached out to them and let them know that they have to do applications, they have not come back to me. So we do have 2 actual applications that we'll be reviewing probably this week. We have 1 application for the building assistant, and then we have 1 application for the office assistant. At this point, my thinking here, and I've discussed it with the city clerk, what we've done in the past when we can't find adequate or sufficient candidates is we've just used a temporary service. So we reached out to a temporary service and found out how much it was going to be. And so we've got a, let me see, I've got it in here. They gave me a provisional or just a provisional agreement and we did this for the office assistant. This was before we got the actual application. For an office clerk at $14 an hour, they would bill us $20.30. That seems like a little bit much. However, that rate includes they pay the health insurance, they pay the Social Security, the FICA, all the state, all the taxes, everything. Everything is handled by the employment agency. All we do is pay that $20.30. They cover all of the other incidentals for that employee. And if it comes to a point where this employee impresses us enough to where we want to keep that that employee. We have a schedule of, that we can actually hire that person from them. If they, and there's a schedule up to 240 hours, 20% of the annual salary for, and all that. If they work for us for 520 hours through this company, then we can hire them outright with no fee. So it's just something to think about. If we don't get adequate applicants, we can reach out to them, and they did say that they are currently supplying part-time temporary people for Washington's Parks Department. And so it's just something to think about. I'm throwing it out there just to get you guys familiar with it, and to let you know that this is an option that we may need to consider.
When you look at an employee, do you know the breakdown of like per hour, how much those taxes and things like that cost us? Obviously, a part-time employee doesn't get the health benefits, but there's still those other expenses that the city incurs. Is there an amount that you can say this much per hour?
We could provide that. I mean, you know, we would have to pay the FICA insurance, which is, it was 7.15% or something, 7.45%. You know, we would have to pay Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. And there are other incidental costs that we would have to pay. So, I mean, even if we just paid that, it would come pretty close to the $20.30 an hour. So, I mean, this would not be a bad option for us to take.
If we go that route, do you know how that works then with our insurance carrier, with member for hire? If there's someone else as a temporary worker, do we have to still use, like, how does that impact that? I know at real times our number of employees impacts how much we pay. So do you know if that changes that percentage or amount?
I haven't looked at that, but I would think that it doesn't, because this person is not an employee of the city.
Right.
The person is an employee of the temp agency just working for the city. So I don't think it would affect us with Myrna or her.
How would it affect
What's the is the temp agency liable for
The temp agency,
legal action?
yes, the temp agency carries errors and omissions insurance on the employee and everything like that too. So that's covered by the temp agency.
Okay, so the temp would be making, if they were going to they'd be making 42,224 hours. How is that compared with the staff we have now?
And basing that on the $20.30 an hour, okay, that's probably a little bit more than what some of our administrative staff is making right
If
now.
when you deduct your FICA and Medicare and all that, it's maybe not so much more.
Right, right.
And is this person qualified to say do the liabilities, and is it something they've done before?
The way they do it is they screen the applicants, and with what we told the temp agency that about the job that we were looking at the time, the office assistant, they actually had 3 candidates that they felt would be a good fit. What they do is they screen and interview those candidates, make sure that they're a good fit, and then they give those 3 screened candidates to us to decide which one we want to choose. So we got a good look at, you know, who they are and what their background is, and see who would fit. And the good thing is here, if they're not a good fit, say they're here for 2 weeks and they're not a good fit, we go back to the temp agency and say they're not a good fit, they take them back and give us another one.
This is for Courtney's position.
Yes.
For 3 months.
For the 12 weeks, yes.
And our
if we go another week or so without getting adequate applicants, yes, I think this is a very good option.
Never mind the cost of putting ads out, and there's still cost to put ads out and search, and so, yeah, I agree with you.
Yes.
Must be a good time to talk about Randy.
Okay. I think it will be. Mayor brought something up that has come up, and it's in relation to this actually, kind of, because we're looking for a part-time parks person. Randy Hausman, or full-time parks supervisor, I guess you'd call him, has given his notice that he does not want to work full-time anymore after May 1st. His wife has gotten a new job, and she's going to be working long hours, and she needs his support, and so he only wants to work part-time. So we maybe need to switch the search for a parks person to a full-time parks person and hire Randy Hausman as the part-time parks person. Yes. And so we probably should very much consider going out for a full-time project because I didn't even think about that. That is probably going to be something that's going to end up being pretty critical in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
He has a brother with the same work ethic.
I have asked him if he has anybody in mind, but he doesn't know. Yeah.
But that is only give us like 1 month to
Yeah.
run and interview before he steps down, and that's going to be in the heart of spring season and Splash Park, so.
Yeah. So,
Is there the opportunity to find the building assistant the same way through the temp agency?
there is, yes. There is an opportunity to do that through the temp agency, and that's something that we would want to consider.
Can you remind me, because I don't have it in front of me, do you know off the top of your head how the salary that was budgeted for that part-time individual compares to what Randy is making? Is it more or less? Or equal to?
The part-time parks person, it was $11 to $14 an hour.
Okay.
He does the amount of work of about 3 people,
Yes.
so I think it would be
Yeah.
Right.
very beneficial. I don't think
Yeah.
he's too far off.
He's not that much higher than that, but he is higher, yes. But even part-time, Randy will be worth
Right.
2 part-time people.
Right. Oh, yes, I wasn't doubting that at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, no.
He's definitely worth the money that he's making right now. So I was just curious, I couldn't remember where we had put that. Would we leave it there, even if we change it to full-time? I mean, and have we thought whether we would leave that full-time as seasonal, or are we just going and go to just a part-time, just Randy part-time in the off-season? Or, I think that's something to consider also. Again, like we talked with, like was mentioned with his work ethic in the off-season, do we need a full-time person and a part-time person? And do we want to let the part-time person, being Randy, go in the off-season?
Right. I don't believe that Randy wants to stay on indefinitely. I would have to confirm that with him, but I believe that eventually he wants to move on and help his wife. And so I think that this would be a seasonal But even if it wasn't seasonal, I'm sure that we could find plenty of work for Randy to do part-time. That is, he is an incredibly valuable employee at this point, and we would be hard-pressed to find somebody of his caliber.
Right.
How many hours are we talking about for his part-time work?
He said 3 to 4 days a week, sometimes 5 if he has weeks where he's not needed as much, but he wanted to do 3 to 4 days a week.
8-hour day?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that kind of finishes the job vacancy updates. Is there anything that did we want to change the current parks to a full-time, or do we want to leave it as a part-time seasonal and then move later to a full-time if we need to?
We need to have some serious input from
Have you,
Randy.
oh, that was going to be my question. Have we asked Randy what he feels like he needs? Like if he needs someone there full-time? I mean,
Okay.
I think that would be valuable information to have.
Yeah, definitely don't think we want to go into busy season and not have the right amount of help.
Right. And do we want to do a full-time seasonal? But basically a part-time worker, but he's working 40 hours a week until the end of the season.
That's going to be a tough one, I think.
I think if Randy can do, 3 days a week, maybe 4, sometimes even 5, I wonder if we could still just do a part-time help for him. I mean, always before, the past, we've only had one full-time worker, and, I mean, it hasn't been perfect or seamless, but it's worked. And so, I mean, obviously Randy has proved his work ethic to be, very diligent, and so I think what he accomplishes in most days, or in 3 days, with a part-time help.
Okay, I'll check back with Randy and find out what he thinks that he might need, and then I'll bring it back to the board on the next meeting.
Because one person's not going to, that didn't pan out very well, that puts them doing 7 days a week. We're going to have to have more help than that. This would be great direction from the board. If Randy is not wanting to stay on that many hours, would it be all right for Administrator Stolberg to switch that to full-time, depending on what Randy says? Because if we wait 2 more weeks, then we're not going to get that ad out there in time.
I think if you find out what we need for sure, then you advertise for it.
Okay. All right. Is everybody good with that? Okay. All right.
Next, we'll have to have a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to RSMO 610.021 to discuss personnel.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Foster.
Aye.
Alderman Neal.
Aye.
Alderman Jones.
Aye.
Alderman Sykes.
Aye.
At this
time, I'll have to close the public meeting for executive session. Thank you.